Erra and Ishum, Tablet 1. I sing of the son of the king of all populated lands, creator of the world, of Hindur Sangha, Elil's heir, holder of the lofty scepter, herder of the black-headed people, shepherd of populations, of Ishum, pious slaughterer whose hands are adept at carrying his furious weapons, and making his fierce axes clash. Erra, warrior of gods, was stirring at home. His heart urged him to make war. He spoke to his weapons, "Rub yourselves with deadly poison." To the Sebiti, unrivaled warrior, "Arm yourselves with your weapons." He said to you, Ishum, "I shall go out into the open country. You will be the torch. People can see your light. You are to march in front, and the gods will follow you. You are the sword that slaughters Lacuna. O Erra, rise up, and in overwhelming the land, how happy your mood, how joyous your heart." Yet Erra himself felt as weak as a man short of sleep, saying to himself, "Should I rise or sleep?" He told his weapons, "Stay propped in the cupboard." To the Sebiti, unrivaled warrior, "Go back to your home. Until you, Ishum, rouse him, he will stay asleep in bed. Enjoy himself with Mami his lover, for he is Ingi-Dudu, lord who prowls by night, leader of princes, who leads on youths and girls in peace and makes night as bright as day." Different is the divine nature of the Sebiti, unrivaled warrior. Their birth was strange and full of terrible portents. Anyone who sees them is smitten with terror, for their breath is lethal. People are petrified and cannot approach them. Ishum is the door bolted before them. When Anu, king of the gods, impregnated earth, she bore the 7 gods for him, and he named them Sebiti. When they stood before him, he decreed their destiny. He summoned the first and gave him orders. "Wherever you band together and march out, you shall have no rival." He spoke to the second. "Ignite like Gera and blaze like a flame." He spoke to the third. "You must put on the face of a lion, so that anyone seeing you will crumble in terror." He spoke to the fourth. "Let the mountain flee before the one who bears your fierce weapons." He ordered the fifth. "Blow like the wind and seek out the rim of the world." He commanded the sixth. "Go through above and below, and do not spare anyone." The seventh he filled with dragon venom, and "Lay low living things." When Anu had decreed the destinies of all the Sebiti, he gave them to Erra, warrior of the gods. "Let them march at your side. Whenever the hubbub of selected people becomes unbearable to you, and you want to wreak destruction, to kill off the black-headed people and lay low Shakan's cattle, these shall act as your fierce weapons and march at your side." They were indeed fierce, and their weapons rose up. They said to Erra, "Rise, stand up. Why do you stay in town like a feeble old man? How can you stay at home like a lisping child? Are we to eat women's bread like one who has never marched to the battlefield? Are we to be fearful and nervous as if we had no experience of war? To go on to the battlefield is as good as a festival for young men. Anyone who stays in town, be he a prince, will not be satisfied with bread alone. He will be vilified in the mouths of his own people and dishonored. How can he raise his hand against one who goes to the battlefield? However great the strength of one who stays in town, how can he prevail over one who has been on the battlefield? City food, however fancy, cannot compare with what is cooked on the embers. Best beer, however sweet, cannot compare with water from a water skin. A palace built on a platform cannot compare with the shelters of a camp. Go out to the battlefield, warrior Erra. Make your weapons resound. Make your noise so loud that those above and below quake, so that the Igigi hear and glorify your name, so that the Anunnaki hear and fear your word, so that the gods hear and submit to your yoke, so that kings hear and kneel beneath you, so that countries hear and bring you their tribute, so that demons hear and avoid you, so that the powerful hear and bite their lips, so that mountain peaks hear and bow their heads in terror, so that the rolling seas hear and are stirred up and destroy their produce, so that tree trunks are lopped in a mighty grove, so that the reeds of an impenetrable reed bed are cut down, so that people are frightened into controlling their noise, so that cattle tremble and turn to clay, so that the gods your fathers see and praise your valor. Warrior Erra, why did you abandon the battlefield and stay in town? Even Shakan's cattle and wild beasts despise us. Warrior Erra, we must tell you, and our words will surely be harsh for you. As long as the whole land is too much for us, surely you will listen to our words. Do a favor for the Anunnaki who love silence. Sleep no longer pours over the Anunnaki because of people's noise. Cattle are trampling down the pasture land, the life of the country. The farmer weeps bitterly over his yield. The lion and the wolf lay low Shakan's cattle. The shepherd prays to you for his sheep. He cannot sleep by day nor by night. And we who know the mountain passes, we have quite forgotten the road. Spiders' webs are spun over our campaign gear. Our trusty bows have rebelled and become too rough for our strength. The points of our sharp arrows are blunt. Our daggers are corroded with verdigris for lack of butchery. Warrior Erra listened to them. The speech which the Sebiti made was as pleasing to him as the best oil. He made his voice heard and spoke to Ishum. How can you listen and stay silent? Open up a path and let me take the road. Let me appoint the Sebiti, unrivaled warrior, to Lacuna. Make them march at my side as my fierce weapons. And as for you, go ahead of me, go behind me. When Ishum heard this, he made his voice heard and spoke to the warrior Erra. Lord Erra, why have you planned evil for the gods? You have plotted to overthrow countries and to destroy their people, but will you not turn back? Erra made his voice heard and spoke. He addressed his words to Ishum, who marches before him. Ishum, be silent and listen to my speech about settled people whom you say I should spare. Wise Ishum, who marches in front of the gods, whose advice is good. In heaven I am a wild bull, on earth I am a lion. In the country I am king, among the gods I am fierce. Among the Igigi I am the warrior, among the Anunnaki I am powerful. Among cattle I am the smiter, in the mountains I am a wild ram. In the reed thicket I am Gera, in the grove I am the Magsharu axe. In the course of a campaign I am the standard. I blow like the wind, I rumble like Adad. I can see the rim of everything like Shamash. I go out onto the battlefield, and I am a wild sheep. I go into the sheepfolds, and I make my dwelling there. All the other gods are afraid of battle, so that the black-headed people despise them. But I, because they no longer fear my name, and since Prince Marduk has neglected his word and does as he pleases, I shall make Prince Marduk angry, and I shall summon him from his dwelling, and I shall overwhelm his people. Warrior Erra set his face toward Shuana, city of the king of gods. He entered Esagila, palace of heaven and earth, and stood in front of him, Marduk. He made his voice heard and spoke to the king of the gods. Why does the finery, your lordship's adornment, which is full of splendor, like the stars of heaven, grow dirty? The crown of your lordship, which made A Halanki shine like A Temen Anki, its surface is tarnished. The king of gods made his voice heard and spoke, addressed his words to Erra, warrior of the gods. Warrior Erra, concerning that deed which you have said you will do, a long time ago, when I was angry and rose up from my dwelling and arranged for the flood, I rose up from my dwelling, and the control of heaven and earth was undone. The very heavens I made to tremble. The positions of the stars of heaven changed, and I did not return them to their places. Even Erkala quaked, the furrows' yield diminished, and forever after it was hard to extract a yield. Even the control of heaven and earth was undone. The springs diminished, the floodwater receded. I went back and looked. It was very grievous. The remaining offspring of living things was tiny, and I did not return them to their former state, to the extent that I was like a farmer who can hold all his seed corn in his hand. I made a house and settled into it. As for the finery, which had been pushed aside by the flood, its surface dulled. I directed Gera to make my features radiant and to cleanse my robes. When he had made the finery bright and finished the work, I put on my crown of lordship and went back to my place. My features were splendid, and my gaze was awesome. As for the people who were left from the flood and saw the result of my action, should I raise my weapons and destroy the remnant? I made those original craftsmen go down to the Apsu, and I said they were not to come back up. I changed the location of the Mesu tree and of the El Meshu stone, and did not reveal it to anyone. Now, concerning that deed which you have said you will do, warrior Erra, where is the mesu wood, the flesh of the gods, the proper insignia of the king of the world, the pure timber, tall youth, who is made into a lord, whose roots reach down into the vast ocean through 100 miles of water to the base of Aralu, whose topknot above rests on the heaven of Anu? Where is the pure Zaginduru stone which Lacuna threw away? Where is Nin Ildu, the great carpenter god of my Anu power, who carries the pure axe of the sun and knows Lacuna timbers, who makes the night as radiant as day and makes people bow down beneath me? Where is Gushkin Banda, creator of God and man, whose hands are pure? Where is Ninagal, who carries the hammer and anvil, who chews hard copper like hide and manufactures tools? Where are the precious stones, produce of the vast ocean, fitting an ornament for crowns? Where are the 7 sages of the Apsu, the holy carp, who are perfect in lofty wisdom, like Ea their lord, who could make my body holy? The warrior Erra listened to him as he stood there. He made his voice heard and spoke to Prince Marduk. Lacuna, Lacuna, the holy Elmeshu stone, Lacuna. When Marduk heard this, he made his voice heard and spoke to warrior Erra. I shall rise up from my dwelling, and the control of heaven and earth will be undone. The waters will rise and go over the land. Bright day will turn into darkness. A storm will rise up and cover the stars of heaven. An evil wind will blow, and the vision of people and living things will be obscured. Galu demons will come up and seize Lacuna. Those who are undressed will Lacuna the one who opposes them. The Anunnaki will come up and trample on living things. Until I gird myself with weapons, who can make them go back? When Erra heard this, he made his voice heard and spoke to Prince Marduk. Prince Marduk, until you re-enter that house and Gera cleanses your robes and you return to your place, until then I shall rule and keep firm control of heaven and earth. I shall go up into heaven and give orders to the Igigi. I shall go down to the Apsu and direct the Anunnaki. I shall send ferocious Galu demons to Kurnugi, and I shall set my fierce weapons over them. I shall tie the wings of the wicked wind like a bird, and that house which you enter, Prince Marduk, I shall make Anu and Elil lie down like bulls to left and right of your gate. Prince Marduk listened to him, and the speech that Erra made was pleasing to him. He rose up from his inaccessible dwelling and set his face towards the dwelling of the Anunnaki. Tablet 2. He rose up from his inaccessible dwelling and set his face towards the dwelling of the Anunnaki. He entered and stood before them, discarded his radiance, and let his rays fall. Lacuna. Because he had set his face towards another place, and no longer Lacuna the earth. The winds rose up, and bright day was turned into darkness. Lacuna of the land together, Lacuna. Lacuna went up, Lacuna. Lacuna and the bottom of Lacuna. Lacuna, all of the rim of Lacuna. Gap of 7 lines. The crown, Lacuna. His heart, Lacuna. Of the governor, Lacuna. The mantle of radiance, Lacuna. Let Ea in the Apsu, Lacuna. Let Shamash see Lacuna, and let the people Lacuna. Let Sin look, and at his sign Lacuna to the land. Concerning that work, Ea, Lacuna, is expert. The warrior Erra was filled with anger. Why, because of foam on the surface of water, did Marduk give the Lacuna of mankind, who I myself created, to bring promptly the Taklimu offerings of the Anunnaki at the wrong time? He plotted evil, to devastate the land, to destroy people, Lacuna. Iasharu considered, and then he said, Now, it was Prince Marduk who rose up, who told those craftsmen that they were not to come back up, statues of them which I made among the people for his great divinity, which no god goes and approaches Lacuna. He gave to the craftsmen a generous heart, and Lacuna'd their base. He bestowed on them wisdom, and made their handiwork beautiful. They made that finery radiant, and more choice than before. The warrior Erra stood before him night and day without cease. Whatever was placed there to make the finery radiant for the King of Kings, he would say, You can't come near the work. Lacuna, I shall cut off his life. I shall stretch out his Lacuna. Lacuna, hasten to the work. Lacuna has no rival. Lacuna, Lacuna shall rival princes. Lacuna, his head, made his finery radiant. Lacuna, Lacuna at his door. Lacuna, King Shamash was clothed. Lacuna, set down his dwelling. Lacuna, light was established. Lacuna, assembled. Lacuna, Marduk. 8 lines fragmentary. The King of Gods made his voice heard and spoke. Lacuna, and they will go up to heaven. Lacuna, return to your dwelling. Lacuna, Lacuna, upon your cheek. Lacuna, their people. Lacuna, you did not turn back. Lacuna spoke to the King of Gods. Lacuna, of the day. Gap of about 17 lines. Lacuna, father of the gods, Lacuna. Eliel, Lacuna. The gods, all of them in Lacuna. Among Shakan's cattle, all of them Lacuna. Erra among all the gods, Lacuna. Among the stars of heaven, the fox star, Lacuna, was twinkling, and its rays, Lacuna, to him. The stars of all the gods were dazzling, Lacuna, because they were angry with each other, and Prince Marduk, Lacuna, put Lacuna. The star of Erra is twinkling and carries rays, Lacuna of Anunitu. His mantle of radiance will be activated, and all people will perish. As for the dazzling stars of heaven that carry a sword, as for the titch of creation, the ant, it does not, Lacuna. Among Shakan's cattle, their astral image is that of the fox, Lacuna. Endowed with strength, a fierce lion, Lacuna. Eliel is the father of populations, and he has made the final decision. Inina replied from the gods' assembly, gave advice, Lacuna, addressed her words to Anu and Dagon, Lacuna. Pay attention, all of you. Go into your private quarters. Cover your lips. Did you not smell the Kutrinu offering? In the presence of Prince Marduk, nor give advice, nor beseech him. Until the time is fulfilled, the hour is past. The word Marduk spoke is like a mountain where trees grow. He does not change it, Lacuna. Erra, Lacuna. Gap of 4 lines. Ishtar went, and they entered the private quarters. She urged Erra, but he would not agree, Lacuna. Ishum made his voice heard and spoke, addressed his words to Inina, Lacuna. He is ill-treated, Lacuna. Erra is angry and will not be silent, Lacuna. Let the mountains be at peace, Lacuna, to him. Eliel's lofty son, whom does not take the road without the leader Ishum, entered Emislam and made his dwelling there. He deliberated with himself concerning that work. But his heart, Lacuna, it gave him no reply. He asked himself, how can you sit still? Open up a path and let me take the road. The time has elapsed, the hour has passed. I promise that I shall destroy the rays of the sun. I shall cover the face of the moon in the middle of the night. I shall say to Adad, hold back your well springs, drive away the clouds and cut out snow and rain. To Marduk and to Ea I shall bring a reminder. He who grows up in times of plenty shall be buried in times of deprivation. He who travels out on a path with water shall return along a way of dust storms. I shall say to the King of Gods, stay in Esagila. They will do as you have told them. They will carry out your command in full. The black-headed people will revile you, and you will not accept their prayers. I shall finish off the land and count it as ruins. I shall devastate cities and make of them a wilderness. I shall destroy mountains and fell their cattle. I shall stir up oceans and destroy their produce. I shall dig out reed thickets and graves, and I shall burn them like Gera. I shall fell people, and I shall leave no life. I shall not keep a single one back, Lacuna. I shall not leave out any of the cattle of Shakan, nor any wild beast whatsoever. From city to city I shall seize the one who governs. A son will not ask after the health of his father, nor the father of his son. A mother will happily plot harm for her daughter. I shall let a barbarian enter a god's shrine where evil men should not go. I shall let a rogue sit down in the dwelling of princes. I shall let a wild beast of Lacuna enter cult centers. I shall stop anyone entering any city which he encounters. I shall let wild beasts of the mountains go down into cities. I shall devastate public places wherever people tread. I shall let wild beasts of the countryside, which are not Lacuna, come into the public square. I shall let a bad omen occur to devastate a city. I shall let the demon supporter of evil enter the god's inaccessible dwelling. I shall devastate the royal palace and make it into a ruin Lacuna. I shall cut off the noise of mankind and deprive him of joy. Like Lacuna, like fire where there was once peace. Lacuna, I shall let evil enter. Lacuna, he would pay attention to nobody. Tablet 3. Lacuna, he would pay attention to nobody. The words of caution that they spoke, Lacuna. Lions, Lacuna. Lacuna. To Lacuna. I shall make them take Lacuna, and I shall shorten their lifetime. I shall sever the life of the just man who takes on paternal responsibility. I shall set up at the head the wicked man who cuts off life. I shall change the minds of people so that the father will not listen to the son. The daughter will speak words of rejection to the mother. I shall make their words wicked, and they will forget their God, will speak great insolence to their goddess. I shall muster the bandit and cut off the highway. They will even plunder each other's property in the city center. The lion and the wolf will fell Shakan's cattle. Lacuna, I shall cause to rage, and he will cut off offspring. I shall deprive the nurse of the baby's cry and toddler's prattle. I shall make Alala leave the pasture. Shepherd and herdsman will forget the shelter. I shall cut off the garment from a man's body, and I shall make the young man walk naked in the city square. I shall make the young man go down into the earth unshrouded. The young man, his supply of sacrificial sheep, will be interrupted and endanger his own life. The prince, his supply of lambs, will become too scarce to obtain oracles from Shamash. The sick man will demand roast meat perversely to satisfy his craving. He will not free for Lacuna, he will go. Lacuna, I shall stop the steeds of princes. Lacuna, I shall cut off. Lacuna, I shall cause to seize. Gap of uncertain length. Rain, Lacuna. Evil winds, Lacuna. Gap of uncertain length. You have set up the weapons of Kidinu men as an abomination to Anu and Dagon. You have made their blood flow like water in the drains of public squares. You have opened their veins and let the river carry off their blood. Eliel has cried woe and clutched at his heart. He has risen up from his dwelling. An irredeemable curse is set in his mouth. He has sworn not to drink the river's waters. He shuns their blood and will not enter into Echor. Erra addressed his words to Ishum, who marches before him. The Sabiti, unrivaled warrior, Lacuna. All of them, Lacuna. Who, Lacuna. Who marches before, Lacuna. Who, Lacuna. Who like Gera, Lacuna. In front of the house, Lacuna. Who like Lacuna. Who, Lacuna. Whom Erra, Lacuna. The face of a lion, Lacuna. In my rage, Lacuna. Open the path, let me take the road. Let me appoint the Sabiti, unrivaled warrior, Lacuna. Make them march at my side as my fierce weapons. And as for you, go ahead of me, go behind me. Ishum listened to this speech of his. He felt compassion and said to himself, Woe to my people against whom Erra rages and Lacuna, whom the warrior Nergal, as in the moment of battle, Lacuna Asaku. His arms, like those which slew the ruined god, are not too weak to slay them. His net, like that which overwhelmed wicked Anzu, is spread to overwhelm them. Ishum made his voice heard and spoke, addressed his words to the warrior Erra. How could you plot evil for gods and men? Even though you have plotted evil against the black-headed people, will you not turn back? Erra made his voice heard and spoke, addressed his words to Ishum, who marches before him. You know the decisions of the Agigi, the councils of the Anunnaki. You give the command for the black-headed people and gain their attention. How can you speak like one who is ignorant? Advise me as if you did not know of Marduk's words to me. The king of gods has risen up from his dwelling, so how can all the land stay firm? He has taken off his lordly crown. King and princes, Lacuna, will forget their rights. He has undone his girdle. The belt of god and man is loosened and cannot be retied. Furious Gera has made his finery bright as day, and has displayed his radiance. He holds a mace in his right hand, his great weapon. The glance of Prince Marduk is terrifying. Yet to me you speak Lacuna. Leader of the gods, wise Ishum, whose counsel is good, how can you now sit and lacuna? Was Marduk's word not pleasing to you? Ishum made his voice heard and spoke to warrior Erra. Warrior Erra, lacuna, trample on the people in lacuna, where the cattle lacuna, the reed thicket and grove which lacuna. Now, as for what you say, warrior Erra, lacuna, one was put in charge, but you, lacuna. You killed 7 and did not spare one. Cattle, lacuna. Erra, you crash your weapons together, and the mountains shake. The seas surge. At the flashing of your sword, lacuna, they look towards the mountain. The palace, lacuna. Gap of uncertain length. Ishum made his voice heard and spoke to warrior Erra. Warrior Erra, you hold the nose rope of heaven. You control the whole earth and you rule the land. You made the sea rough and encompass mountains. You govern people and herd cattle. Ishara is at your disposal. A and Gura in your hands. You look after Shuana and rule Esagila. You control all the rights and the gods respect you. The Igigi revere you, the Anunnaki fear you. Elil agrees with you. Does conflict happen without you, or warfare take place in your absence? The armory of war belongs to you, and yet you say to yourself, they despise me. O warrior Erra, did you not fear Prince Marduk's name? Tablet 4. O warrior Erra, did you not fear Prince Marduk's name? You have untied the bond of Dimkurkura, city of the king of gods, the bond of lands. You have changed your divine nature and become like a human. You have donned your weapons and entered into the heart of Babylon, and have spoken like a braggart that you would seize the city. The sons of Babylon, who have none to take charge of them, like reeds in a reed thicket, have all gathered about you. He who is ignorant of weapons is unsheathing his dagger. He who is ignorant of bows is stringing his bow. He who is ignorant of battle is making war. He who is ignorant of wings is flying like a bird. The weakling covers the master of force. The fatty is overtaking the sprinter. To the governor in charge of their shrines they utter great blasphemies. Their hands have dammed up the city gate of Babylon, the artery of their wealth. They have thrown firebrands into the shrines of Babylon like looters of the country. You are the one who marches at the head, and you take the lead for them. You press down arrows upon Imgur Elil until he says, woe is me. You have founded a dwelling for Mura, keeper of its city gate, in the blood of young men and women. You are the decoy for the inhabitants of Babylon, and they are the bird. You ensnared them in your net, and caught and destroyed them, warrior Erra. You left the city and went off elsewhere. You put on the face of a lion and entered the palace. The army saw you and donned their weapons. The governor, who had treated Babylon well, became enraged, directed his troops to loot like enemy looters, incited the leader of the army to the crime. You are the man whom I shall send to that city. You shall respect neither God nor man. Put young and old alike to death. You shall not leave any child, even if he still sucks milk. You shall pillage the accumulated wealth of Babylon. The royal troops were put into units and entered the city. The bow twanged, the dagger pricked. You set up the weapons of Kidunu men as an abomination to Anu and Dagon. You have made their blood flow like water in the drains of public squares. You have opened their veins and let the river carry off their blood. The great Lord Marduk saw and cried woe and clutched at his heart. An irredeemable curse is set in his mouth. He has sworn not to drink the river's waters. He shuns their blood and will not enter into Esagila. Woe to Babylon, which I made as lofty as a date palm's crown, but the wind shriveled it. Woe to Babylon, which I filled with seeds like a pine cone, but whose abundance I did not bring to fruition. Woe to Babylon, which I planted like a luxuriant orchard, but never tasted its fruit. Woe to Babylon, which I have thrown onto the neck of Anu like a cylinder seal of El-Meshu stone. Woe to Babylon, which I have taken in my hands like the tablet of destinies, and will not deliver to anyone else. The Prince Marduk spoke thus. Lacuna from which time immemorial lacuna. Henceforth he who would cross from the quayside shall cross on foot. Henceforth the rope which would go down into the pit shall not save the life of a single man. Henceforth they shall drive out the deep sea, fisherman's boat, 100 leagues into the vast expanse of sea water with a pole. Even Sippar, the eternal city, which the Lord of Lands did not allow the flood to overwhelm because it was so dear to him. You destroyed its wall without Shamash's permission and dismantled its parapet. Even Uruk, the dwelling of Anu and Ishtar, city of prostitutes, courtesans, and call-girls, whom Ishtar deprived of husbands and kept in her power. Sutean men and women hurl their abuse. They rouse Iana, the party boys and festival people, who change their masculinity into femininity to make the people of Ishtar revere her. The dagger bearer, bearers of razors, pruning knives, and flint blades, who frequently do abominable acts to please the heart of Ishtar. You set over them an insolent governor who will not treat them kindly. He persecuted them and violated their rights. Ishtar was enraged and became angry with Uruk. She summoned an enemy and despoiled the land like standing corn before floodwater. The inhabitants of Parsay would not cease ritual wailing because of Ugal, which had been contaminated. The enemy whom you had summoned would not agree to stop. Angal replied, You have made the city of Dur into a wilderness. You have snapped the people within it like reeds. Like scum on the surface of water, you have stopped their hubbub. And you did not spare me. You delivered me up to the Suteans. So I, because of my city Dare, shall not give fair justice. I shall not make decisions for the land. I shall not give any orders, nor will I open my ear. The people abandoned justice and took to atrocities. They deserted righteousness and planned wickedness. I made the seven winds rise up against the one country. Anyone who has not died in battle will die in an epidemic. Anyone who has not died in the epidemic, the enemy will carry off as spoil. Anyone whom the enemy has not carried off as spoil, thieves will murder. Anyone whom thieves have not murdered, the king's weapon will overcome. Anyone whom the king's weapon has not overcome, a prince will fell. Anyone whom a prince did not fell, Adad will wash away. Anyone whom Adad has not washed away, Shamash will parch. Anyone who goes out onto the land, the wind will infect. Anyone who enters his own home, the croucher will hit. Anyone who goes up into the heights will die of thirst. Anyone who goes down into the depths will die by water. For you encompass the heights and the depths alike. The city governor will say thus to his mother, Would that I had been instructed in your womb on the day you bore me. Would that my life had ended and that we had died together. Because you delivered me to a city whose walls were to be demolished, its people treated like cattle, their god turned smiter. And because his net is of such fine mesh, even picked men could not draw their swords, but died by the sword. He who sired a son will say, This is my son, and I reared him, and he does good in return. Yet shall I put the son to death, and his father shall bury him. Afterwards I shall put the father to death, and he shall have nobody to bury him. He who builds a house and says, This is my home, I have built it, and I shall find peace within it, and when fate carries me off I shall rest there forever. Yet shall I put him to death and vandalize his home. Afterwards it will be wrecked, and I shall give it to someone else. Ishum answers, O warrior Erra, you have put the just to death, you have put the unjust to death, you have put to death the man who sinned against you, you have put to death the man who did not sin against you, you have put to death the inn priest who made taklimu offerings promptly, you have put to death the courtier who served the king, you have put old men to death on the porch, you have put young girls to death in their bedrooms, yet you will not rest at all, yet you say to yourself, They despise me. Yet this is what you tell yourself, warrior Erra. I shall smite the strong and terrify the weak. I shall murder the leader of the army and rout the army. I shall ruin the shrine on top of the temple tower and the wall's crenellations and destroy the city's vitality. I shall tear out the mooring poles and let boats drift downstream. I shall break the rudder so that it cannot reach the bank. I shall rip out the mast and tear out its rigging. I shall dry out the breast so that the baby cannot live. I shall block springs so that small channels cannot bring the waters of fertility. I shall make Erkala quake so that the skies billow. I shall fell the rays of Shulpe and throw away the stars of heaven. The roots of trees shall be cut through so that their new growth will not flourish. I shall destroy the base of the wall so that the top of it sways. To the dwelling of the king of gods I shall go, so that counsel shall not prevail. Warrior Erra listened to him, and the words that Ishum spoke to him were as pleasing as the best oil. And warrior Erra spoke thus, Sea people shall not spare sea people, nor Subarshan spare Subarshan, nor Assyrian Assyrian, nor shall Elamite spare Elamite, nor Kassite Kassite, nor Sutean spare Sutean, nor Gushan Gushan, nor shall Lulubayan spare Lulubayan, nor country country, nor city city. Nor shall tribe spare tribe, nor man man, nor brother brother, but they shall slay one another. But afterwards a man of Akkad shall rise up and fell them all and shepherd all the rest of them. Warrior Erra addressed his words to Ishum, who marches before him. Go, Ishum, take full discretion for the words you spoke. Ishum set his face towards the mountain Hehe. The Sabiti, unrivaled warrior, stormed behind him. The warrior arrived at the mountain Hehe, raised his hand and destroyed the mountain, counted the mountain Hehe as flat ground. He lopped the tree trunks in the forest of Hashuru trees, like Lacuna. He finished off the cities and made of them a wilderness, destroyed mountains and struck down their cattle, stirred up the seas and destroyed their produce, devastated reed beds and groves and burnt them like Gera cursed the cattle and turned them to clay. When Erra had rested and settled in his dwelling. Tablet 5. When Erra had rested and settled in his dwelling, all the gods began to look at his face. The Igigi and the Anunnaki, all of them, were standing in awe. Erra made his voice heard and spoke to all the gods. Keep quiet, all of you, and learn what I have to say. What if I did intend the harm of the wrong I have just done? When I am enraged, I devastate people. Like a hired man among the flocks, I let the leading sheep out of the pen. Like one who does not plant the orchard, I am not slow to cut it down. Like one who plunders a country, I do not distinguish just from unjust, I fell them both. One does not snatch a corpse from the mouth of a marauding lion, and where one man is beside himself, another man cannot give advice. What would happen if Ishum, who goes before me, were not there? Where would your provider be? Wherever would your in-priest be? Where would your Nindabu offerings be? You would not even smell the Kutrinu offering. Ishu made his voice heard and spoke, addressed his words to the warrior Erra. Warrior, be still and listen to my words. What if you were to rest now, and we would serve you? We all know that nobody can stand up to you in your day of wrath. Erra heard him, and his face brightened. His features lit up like the dawning of a new day. He entered into Emeslam and settled in his dwelling. Ishum called out and said the key word, began to confirm the decision concerning the scattered people of Akkad. May the reduced people of the land become numerous again. May the short man and the tall man go along its paths. May the weak man of Akkad fell the strong Sutean. May one man drive away 7 of them as if they were flocks. You shall make their towns into ruins and their hills into wildernesses. You shall bring their heavy spoils into Shuana. You shall put the country's gods who were angry safely back into their dwellings. You shall let Shakan and Nisaba go down into the country. You shall let the mountains bear their wealth and the sea its produce. You shall let the meadowlands, which you allowed to be devastated, bear their produce. Then the governors of all cities, every one of them, haul their heavy tribute into Shuana. Let the temples, which were allowed to become damaged, lift their heads up as high as the rising sun. Let the Tigris and Euphrates bring the waters of abundance. Let the governors of all cities, every one of them, deliver up to the provider of Esagila and Babylon. For countless years shall the praises of the great Lord Nergal and the warrior Ishum be sung. How Erra became angry and set his face towards overwhelming countries and destroying their people. But Ishum his counselor placated him so that he left a remnant. The one who put together the composition about him was Kabti Ilani Marduk, son of Dabibi. Some god revealed it to him in the middle of the night, and when he recited it upon waking, he did not miss anything out, nor add a single word to it. Erra heard and approved it, and it was pleasing also to Ishum, who marches in front of him. All the other gods gave praise with him, and the warrior Erra spoke, saying, Wealth shall be piled up in the shrine of the god who praises this song, but whoever discards it shall never smell the Kutrinu offering. The king who magnifies my name shall rule the world. The prince who recites the praise of my valiant deeds shall have no rival. The musician who sings it shall not die in an epidemic. The words of it will find favor with kings and princes. The scribe who learns it will survive even in enemy country, and will be honored in his own. In the shrine of craftsmen, where they ever proclaim my name, I shall make them wise. In the house where this tablet is placed, even if Erra becomes angry and the Sibiti storm, the sword of judgment shall not come near him, but peace is ordained for him. Let this song endure forever, let it last for eternity. Let all countries listen to it and praise my valor. Let settled people see and magnify my name. The colophon reads, 5th Tablet, Series Erra. I, Assurbanipal, great king, mighty king, king of the world, king of Assyria, son of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, son of Sennacherib, king of Assyria, wrote, checked, and collated this tablet in the company of scholars, in accordance with clay tablets and wooden writing boards, exemplars from Assyria, Sumer, and Akkad, and put it in my palace for royal reading. Whoever erases my written name and writes his own, may Nabu, the scribe of all, erase his name.